Sunday. It's August 1st, and it is my time anyway. In Southern California, it is 11:24 a.m. And this Sunday, I wanted to talk about the reality of different realities. This has kind of been on my mind, actually, lately, because what I do mostly nowadays is the Beyond Body, where I explore these parallel universes, parallel realities. I really wanted to kind of talk about what these places are really like versus what folks might say in television and in movies. It's always funny for me to watch some of these things. It's like if you watch that all the time and you have a tendency to think that it's always like maybe an adventure when you go out there. Oh, you have to save the multiverse or something. And I want to begin by talking about the fact that while I've had many amazing, exciting adventures in the multiverse. At the same time, I must tell you that there are places that are very mundane. And I want to talk about some of the contrasts there. For example, actually, I can talk about the experience I recently had with this metropolis, this skyscraper. By the way, if you haven't checked that video out, it was the latest video that I have done in my experiences. And one of the things is, for me, when I have an experience, just so you know, unlike Sundays where I do this every single Sunday, I could post my experience in the middle of the night. It all depends on when the experience happens, but I tend to post these experiences right after they happen. There's a certain feeling of rawness there that I really enjoy. I enjoy just opening my eyes and just talking about what happened, what the experience was, and sharing it with you the instant that I come back to the 3D world. So that's why I do that particular thing. But so getting back to this latest adventure that I had with the skyscrapers that were like toys to me. They were so well crafted. They looked like someone, like a giant hand perhaps, had crafted them, but they were enormous. They were huge, and this place was such an amazing place. That adventure was such an amazing adventure. It truly was an adventure. But I want to contrast that with something that happened the next day, and something that I actually didn't make a vlog out of, because I honestly did not remember enough for me in my standards to be able to share that with you. It was interesting because, well, when I first arrived in this place, wherever this was some other version of my apartment, and it took me a while to figure out the fact that I had left and gone to a parallel universe. At first, I was questioning whether I had even gone anywhere. I was looking around like, wow, this looks exactly like my place. I stood there in the middle of my place for a while looking around, and then suddenly I heard a voice say hi, and that person said my name. That's very unusual in these experiences. People don't normally say my name, but this being did. These people did, and it was a couple, a white couple. And the only reason why I mentioned that is because I'm black. So it was interesting, and I had this sense or this feeling that I was a part of their family, though I didn't take a look to see what I looked like in this reality. But I must tell you, and the other problem with this was I spent a long time in this place, but I wasn't able to retain really that much at all, if anything. And it was interesting because this was much more of a mundane thing. I felt as if there was a conflict that was going on with me and these people in this house. House seemed maybe circa 1970s or something. There were magazines on a coffee table. I was actually trying to look and see. I remember that part. I was trying to see, what is this place? What world is this, or whatever. But I was also in full conversation with these people, and I just don't remember what we were actually talking about. It's one of those instances. So it was something that I didn't feel that I could share on this channel, but you can see the contrast, where that one adventure where I came to this place and it was so beautiful, and it was amazing the way that I felt a hand lifting me in the adventure with the skyscrapers that were like toys. I felt a hand lifting me up in the air and lifting me as I was rising. I could see, it was almost like being in an elevator, I guess you could say, with no doors or anything. You were just being lifted and rising into the air. It was quite amazing. And then you have this contrast of kind of hanging out with the family in a parallel universe. So interesting. And I could go through and give you other examples of this. There was a video that I posted where I found myself in what I thought was space. It was dark, really dark. And there was sort of stars. These stars, though, were kind of clustered together, and then they suddenly expanded out. And I remember I was moving forward through this ring of stars, and then I start suddenly moving backwards in reverse at an astonishing speed. And suddenly I found myself at one point going through what I can only really imagine was some sort of dimensional window. It was as if I opened the window, I looked out, and there was a very beautiful woman that was there. The first thing I saw, we were sitting at a table on a terrace or a patio in a restaurant. And right outside that patio, I could see bright yellow taxis, and I could see billboards and lights, and this was like New York. I mean, it was amazing. And I remember as I looked through this dimensional window, I suddenly became and merged with the person that was with this very beautiful woman. I guess a version of me was with this person, and I lightly touched her face and looked into her eyes, and it was amazing. Contrast that with finding myself in a department store, and specifically in this department store, I was in the stationery department, and people were just walking around. I mean, it was just a department store, guys. There was nothing really to talk about. I mean, there wasn't really anything that interesting, to be honest. It looked like any department store you might find in your hometown. It was like, okay, I'm in a department store. Quite interesting. Cool. And then it went from there. But so as you can see, there's a contrast to these things. And on my channel, I have posted things that I believe are kind of mundane. And to be honest, look, I'm not going to sit here. What I do and the access that I have is really wonderful. It's an amazing thing to be able to do what I do. And even going to a department store in a parallel universe, or going to some of the other kind of more mundane places that I've been to, that is an amazing thing, because it is literally another reality. So that is very interesting. But again, this is about the reality of different realities. And that's one of the realities I want to tell you about, because I'm sure that there are those of you, and I've seen comments where people have said, I want to visit a parallel universe too. And I want to prepare you, because I don't want you to get there and go, that's it? That's it? All this hype about going to a parallel universe and this is what it is? Not every experience will be like that, but I would imagine there'll be some where you're just kind of looking around going, okay, well, parallel universe, interesting, but it may not be what you expect it to be. The other thing is, I wanted to talk briefly about going to parallel universes where I seem to have enhanced strength, abilities, where flight is possible, where I can fly. These places exist, and sometimes it's weird for me to talk about them, because I think to myself, man, there must be people that are listening to me that think I'm absolutely nuts. I'm just being real with you. People that think I'm crazy, but I only report to you, by the way. I only report to you what I've experienced, really, truly experienced. And I want you to know that even when I talk about those things are things that I have actually experienced. One thing that comes to mind is the video I posted where I ended up in this house. I still remember I was in this house, and the first thing I saw was this bed, and the bed was really long, and this entire family was laying in bed, mother, father, I would imagine sisters. I even saw an infant child, and I remember that was the first time I actually had touched someone, because the infant child was lying next to the mother, and I very, very, very gently touched the forehead of this infant baby. I didn't want to wake the baby up, but I felt the baby. I felt it. It was amazing. Then I went outside, and I remember there was a fence that separated the property that I was on from another property, and there was a garage. Garage door was open, and I saw a light, and I heard the voices of kids. They must have been young, and they were talking, and then I heard one of them say, "Hey, there's one of them now." I don't know what that meant. I'm fairly sure they were talking about me, because they saw me, but I don't know. And two of the kids came out, and one had a wrench, and they threw the wrench at me, right? Out of anger. I'm not sure why. They just threw it. I caught the wrench. I looked at the kids, and then with my bare hands, I bent it like it was rubber. I don't know how I knew I could do that. It was instinctual. I bent it, and then I threw it down to the ground. The kids retreated immediately. It was pretty amazing. But I've gone to places like that. I've gone to places where I can fly, and it feels like a physical universe. So these are things that I have talked about. Parallel realities are amazing. But this is, if I'm being real with you, there are a variety of different places, a variety of different adventures, guys. There's going to be adventures that are going to be amazing and adventures that are going to be more kind of calm. So I suspect in your astral projection, if you can make it to these places, take some time to observe. I think you will be very interested. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on another journey with me. And until next time, take care.